Learn English through story. The Golden Chain of Compassion. In the small village of Elmswood, nestled between lush green hills and dense forests, lived a man named William. William was a blacksmith by trade, known throughout the village for his unmatched skill in forging tools and weapons. Despite his talent, William was a man of few words, keeping mostly to himself. He lived alone in a modest cottage at the edge of the village, where the only sounds were the clanging of metal and the rustling of leaves in the wind. William's solitude was self-imposed. Years ago, he had lost his wife, Mary, to an illness that swept through the village like a shadow. Her death left a void in his heart, and in response, William built walls around himself, shutting out the world. He became distant, burying his grief in his work, believing that by isolating himself, he could protect what little remained of his broken heart. One chilly autumn morning, as William was busy at his forge, he heard a soft knock on his door. He opened it to find a young woman standing before him, her face pale and weary. She introduced herself as Clara, a traveler who had lost her way. Her clothes were tattered, and she carried nothing but a small sack slung over her shoulder. "I apologize for disturbing you, sir," Clara said, her voice trembling with exhaustion. "I've been walking for days and have nowhere to go. Could you spare some food and shelter for the night?" William hesitated. He had long since given up on forming any connections with others, fearing the pain that inevitably followed. But something in Clara's eyes, perhaps the same look of loss he saw in his own reflection, softened his resolve. Without a word, he nodded and led her inside. He gave her some bread and water and lit a fire in the hearth to warm the cold room. Clara sat by the fire, silently eating, while William returned to his work. Though his mind was not on his hammer and anvil, he was curious about the stranger in his home but chose not to pry. As the evening wore on, Clara noticed William's gaze occasionally drifting toward a small portrait on the mantelpiece, a portrait of a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Is that your wife?" Clara asked quietly. William's hands paused mid-motion. He hadn't spoken of Mary in years. "Not to anyone." He nodded, his expression guarded. "She was beautiful," Clara remarked, sensing his reluctance to speak further on the subject. "I lost someone dear to me, too, my brother. He died last winter." William's grip on the hammer tightened. "I'm sorry," he murmured, barely audible over the crackling fire. "It's strange, isn't it?" Clara continued, staring into the flames. "How loss can make us withdraw, even from those who might understand our pain." William remained silent, his thoughts swirling like the smoke rising from the fire. He had shut himself off from the world, believing it was the only way to survive his grief. But now, in the presence of someone who had also known loss, he began to wonder if he had been wrong. The next morning, Clara thanked William for his kindness and prepared to leave. But as she stood at the door, she turned to him with a request. "Before I go, would you allow me to repay your generosity?" she asked. William was taken aback. "There's no need. You needed help, and I was able to give it, that's all." "Even so," Clara insisted, "I would like to help you in return. I'm not skilled like you, but I can offer something small, a reminder that compassion, once given, never truly leaves us." William was about to decline when Clara pulled a thin golden chain from her sack. It was simple, but elegantly crafted, and on it hung a small, intricately designed charm shaped like a heart. She placed it in William's hand. "This was given to me by my mother," Clara explained. "She told me that whenever I felt alone, I should hold this charm and remember that love, though it may seem lost, is always within reach." William stared at the chain, feeling its warmth in his palm. He was deeply touched by the gesture but was unsure how to express it. Finally, he managed a quiet thank you. Claire smiled and left the cottage, her presence lingering in the room long after she had gone. For the next few days, William found his thoughts returning to Clara's words and the golden chain she had given him. He placed it on the mantelpiece beside Mary's portrait, and every time he looked at it, he felt a small but growing sense of peace. One evening, a young boy from the village came to William's door, tears streaming down his face. His dog, his only companion, had run off into the woods and hadn't returned. The boy was desperate and didn't know where else to turn. William hesitated for only a moment before setting down his tools. He remembered Clara's words and how her kindness had touched him. Without a second thought, he grabbed his coat and lantern and followed the boy into the woods. They searched for hours, and just as the boy was beginning to lose hope, they found the dog tangled in a thorn bush, frightened but unharmed. The boy's face lit up with joy as he freed his pet, and he turned to William, eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, sir," the boy said, hugging his dog tightly. "Thank you for helping me." William smiled a genuine smile that he hadn't felt in years. "It was nothing, lad. Sometimes, we just need a little help." As the boy left, William returned to his cottage, feeling a warmth in his heart that he had long forgotten. He looked at the golden chain on the mantelpiece and realized that Clara had been right. Compassion, once given, was never truly lost. From that day on, William opened his heart to the village once more. He began to help others, not out of obligation, but because he had learned that in helping others, he was also healing himself. The golden chain remained on his mantelpiece, a constant reminder that even in the darkest times, the light of compassion could guide him home. And so, the village of Elmswood came to know William not just as a skilled blacksmith, but as a man with a heart of gold, a heart that had been reforged by the simple, yet profound, act of kindness. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.